Grant McCasland officially adds to his staff after losing two coaches this offseason to other jobs. The Red Raiders only have one vacancy on the coaching staff as it stands right now. In today's video, we'll discuss the additions to the Texas Tech staff, as well as look at a name that is being heavily rumored to this Texas Tech staff and why he'll be a familiar name for Red Raider Nation. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Red and Black Report. Appreciate y'all tuning in to today's video. The last three videos here on the channel have been Texas Tech men's basketball related. There's no hashtag offseason here on the channel when it comes to the Red Raiders on the hardwood. So if you want to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, this is the place for you. All you have to do is be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. All right, let's just jump right into this and talk about the newest additions to Grant McCasland's staff headed into the 2025-2026 season. The big one is Bakamus. You may have actually heard of this guy if you are a big college basketball fan. I'll tell you why here in a second, as well as Duncan Bacon, who has joined the staff as the Associate Director of Operations. Now, Bakamus arrives in Lubbock after working at Arizona as an assistant coach with Tommy Lloyd. There is obviously a heavy connection there for Grant McCasland, as he was on Tommy Lloyd's staff for FIFA U19 in the World Cup. So you had that there, and there's that heavy connection there. There's also the Baylor connection when it comes to Rim and Grant McCasland, where Rim was actually a grad assistant for Scott Drew out at Baylor and previously played at Gonzaga. He actually played at Gonzaga for 5 seasons, from 2012 to 2017. He reached the national championship game during his time there, and he was part of a team that won 161 games and 5 West Coast Conference championships and had 5 NCAA tournament appearances. He graduated from Gonzaga in 2017 with a sports management and public relations degree, and then earning a graduate degree from Baylor in sports. It's just one of those deals, right? Like where you have the connections, and that's really the overarching theme here I want to talk about with Rim real quick, because it's this. When I think a lot of people look at coaches and where they're going to go in the sense of who could they potentially target, I think people have to realize this. First and foremost, you got to be good at your job. There's no debating that, right? That's part of it. But a large part of this is relationships. And how many relationships did Rim and Grant McCasland share before he was officially announced as an addition to the staff? You think about it. Tommy Lloyd up at Gonzaga. We already mentioned that Texas Tech's Grant McCasland has worked with Tommy Lloyd for USA Basketball. You had Rim out at Baylor. We know Grant McCasland graduated from Baylor, worked with Scott Drew out in Waco. There's the other connection, right? There's so many interwebs just locked together in this. And that's the thing that goes with a lot of these things in the sense of coaching trees. And really, it's a relationship business. Again, you got to be good at what you do. But there's a lot of relationships behind this as well. And Rim has at least 3 of them by my count that gets him in terms of being a guy that is added to the Texas Tech staff. And oh, by the way, I mentioned you had to be talented. He's really talented, people. I mean, he's gotten high praise from Mark Few. He's gotten high praise from Tommy Lloyd, Grant McCasland, Scott Drew. I mean, like, he's talented, and he is added to that bench in terms of whether that's for a Luke Barnwell spot, who went up to Iowa to work with Ben McCollum, or if it's Matt Brower, who left for the SFA head man job. We don't know exactly which spot he will take, but he is taking one of those 2, which leaves 1 spot available on the bench for the Red Raiders in terms of the front of the bench. All right. But I do want to talk about also adding, another associate director of operations, Duncan Bacon. I mean, these guys really don't get enough love for what they do. He's a graduate assistant for Grant McCasland and his staff before being hired by SFA director of operations. In April, he returns to Lubbock as the coordinator of basketball operations. He graduated from ACU, worked 1 season at Hardin University as a grad assistant, as a student assistant for ACU for 4 seasons, helping the Wildcats each Southland conference championships. I mean, like, he's a West Texas guy when it comes down to it. So he joins the Texas Tech staff as well, and that's something that I think is huge. And you want to give those guys credit because behind the scenes, I get it. They're not the Grant McCaslands of the world. They're not the Buffs of the world. They're not, the Linders of the world, but they do a ton of stuff on a daily basis that makes sure that this program really, really thrives and operates at a high, high level. All right. If you stayed this far into the video, first and foremost, I appreciate you guys. If you want to be a part of the largest group of Texas Tech fans and the RBR squad, well, hit that subscribe button. It's 100% free. We're talking men's basketball, even in the hashtag off season of Texas Tech men's basketball. You got Jalen Petty in the mix now. Your roster's probably set. Ben Henshaw is a no-shall. If you know, you know. But we're going to be talking a lot here on the channel about Texas Tech men's basketball leading up to a really, really exciting season where you have JT Toppin coming back as well as Christian Anderson Jr. All right, before we look at early expectations, because there's a lot of talk about Texas Tech, and most notably from a guy in John Rothstein, where I know that a lot of y'all have thoughts about him, and I understand completely. I really do. He has the Red Raiders really high. But before we get in there, I do want to mention one more name that I think we could hear potentially be added to the Texas Tech men's basketball coaching staff here in the next really not too distant future. And you're going to know this name if you are a diehard Texas Tech fan and have paid attention to Texas Tech men's basketball over the past really decade. Okay, this is a guy that was arguably the most likable player during my time at Texas Tech, not named Keenan Evans. Okay, this was a guy that went through the trenches, right, in terms of Texas Tech. He was there down bad season when Texas Tech was really trying to get back, stayed through the Tubby Smith era, and his last season at Texas Tech actually ended up making the NCAA tournament. For those that don't know exactly who I'm talking about now, I'm talking about Todrick Gotcher. Yes, there are a lot of smoke headed out of this proverbial fire in terms of Todrick Gotcher could be added to Grant McCasland's staff headed into year number 3 out in the 806 for the head man. Now, nothing is official yet, but I've had multiple people tell me over at the Scarlet and Black Insider, as well as just really people that know Texas Tech basketball at a way higher level than me and just happen to tell me some information every now and then, that this is headed for a potential return for him to wear the Scarlet and Black on the sidelines again, this time as a coach. And if you know anything about Todrick, legitimately, one of the nicest human beings I've ever met, and he does not get enough credit for how impactful and meaningful he was to the turnaround of Texas Tech men's basketball. I know a lot of people give a lot of credit to Tubby Smith, obviously Beard, right? But from a player perspective, Todrick Gotcher does not get enough credit for what he did to help Texas Tech get to the point where they are now in terms of truthfully being, at worst, one of the top 15 men's basketball programs in the country. Full stop. And it sounds like he is headed for a reunion for Texas Tech. He was never out of the bad graces. He was just hooping in Europe. He was a hooper over there, man. Won a couple championships over in Europe in various leagues. But it sounds like right now the expectation, or at least the direction it is heading, is Todrick Gotcher could be the last addition to Grant McCasland's staff for the 2025-2026 season. Obviously, keep your eye out on socials for that. But that's what it sounds like is the expectation right now for many very close to the Texas Tech men's basketball program. All right. I really want to look at the roster real quick with you guys as I finally get the right graphic on the screen. Thank you for bearing with me. Obviously, Jalen Petty was added to this roster. He committed over the August 1st weekend. This is kind of what you're looking at, I think, going into 2025, 2026, okay? Would I like a more experienced ball handler to pair with Christian Anderson Jr.? Yeah, but also at the same time, you're going to go as far as JT Toppin, LaJuan Watson, Christian Anderson Jr. take you this year. Full stop, okay? You got some really nice pieces alongside of them, most notably Tyree Bryan transferring in from Santa Clara, a guy that was 80th percentile in terms of defensive metrics according to Synergy, and also shot 40+% from three. You've also got Donovan Atwell, a guy that's very similar to Tyree Bryan, a lefty from the outside, can create a little bit, but shot north of 40% over down in North Carolina? No, not for the Tar Heels, but he did play down in North Carolina, and he's a guy that ranked in the 80th percentile as well. Okay, so this is one of those deals where you go out and you get multiple shooters. I know this staff loves Nolan Groves. He was a zero-star recruit, but he is the Gatorade High School Men's Basketball Player of the Year up in the state of Minnesota. Actually, Texas Tech has 2 of those on their roster now, with Jalen Petty coming in as well, who won the Gatorade Men's Basketball Player of the Year up in the state of Washington. But I know that there's a lot of buzz around Nolan Groves. The staff really seems to like him. Josiah Mosley, a guy that I think can take the next step in his second year of college, coming in from Villanova, where I think it was a malpractice the way he was used. And then you get a guy, in my opinion, in Luke Bamboye, that is a more athletic and just simply overall better version of Fetty 2 times. And so you look at this roster, and I think this will be the starting 5 for Texas Tech. It can change. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be shocked if JT starts at the 5. That being said, I do know that this staff wants to use JT more at the 4 and have him play alongside a 5 because they think that they can use him a little bit more on the perimeter, whether that's defensively or from an offensive standpoint in the pick and roll, shooting threes, cutting, whatever it may be. They really want to impact and explode JT Toppin's game a little bit more so he has more eyes on him, and also he just becomes a better all-around, well-rounded player. But right now, that's where it stands in terms of the Texas Tech roster. I think that's where it finishes. I don't think you see Texas Tech add another player to the roster. That being said, they have added a couple of coaches. Bakamus from out in Arizona, and then you've got Duncan Bacon coming in as an associate director of operations from ACU, and the name to watch in terms of adding to the staff, probably here in the not too distant future, if it's going to happen, is Texas Tech legend. And I don't use that word very lightly. Texas Tech men's basketball legend, Todrick Gotcher, looks like he could be potentially the last addition to Grant McCasland's 2025-2026 staff. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Appreciate y'all tuning in. As always, be sure to join the RBR squad if you haven't already, trying to get to about 13,000 subscribers by, I think we can do it by November, but keep me honest in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. Really, truly helps this channel the most, and we want as many Red Raiders in here as possible that can really thrive off of this 100% free content here in the Texas Tech space. All right, I'm RC Maxfield, reminding you, as always, to stay safe and Rec 'em Tech.